Hello, Sideliners, and welcome back to another episode of Sideline Tea. We're your hosts, Brittany, Jennifer, and Mary, here to spill the tea with a very special guest, Marcel. Hold on. We need a lesson for this.
Marcel, I don't know how to say your last name.
I appreciate you asking. Louis-Jacques, yeah.
Welcome, Sideliners, to, I should say class. Welcome to another episode of Sideline Tea. Tonight we have
Did
our
she freeze?
very special. Oh no, did I freeze?
No.
You froze?
Marcel?
It froze for me. All right. I'm just be quiet until I hear my
Let
name.
it ride. Class, welcome to another episode of Sideline Tea. Tonight, we are so pleased to welcome the one and only Marcel Louis. Class, welcome back to another episode of Sideline Tea, where tonight we are very pleased to welcome Marcel.
Yes, you got it right. Do you do it again? I feel like that was good.
Marcel really needs absolutely no introduction, because if you don't already know who Marcel is, how is that rock you've been living under? And although Marcel will tell you he has nothing but love for Buffalo after spending a few years covering the Bills, with his new contract extension just signed with ESPN to stay in Miami covering the Dolphins, we all know where his heart really is. It's time to grab your favorite beverage, sit back, relax, and let's spill some tea.
Class, welcome to another episode of Sideline Tea. After our 1 week hiatus, we are back with a very special guest, Marcel Louis-Jacques, who we're very excited to have here tonight. How are you doing, Marcel?
I am great. I'm so grateful, so thankful, not only to be on the show, but also to be officially back in football season. Like, I do not do well with off season. Like, after about a month or two, I'm ready to get back into it. I need structure. I need to know what to do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I hate floating. So this is my favorite time of year by far.
Yeah,
Love
just
that.
all the unknowns too of like the off season.
I mean, you're basically on call. So like you could travel. I did like plenty of traveling, went out, beach, dinner, this and that. But like you never
Beach.
know when that thing is coming in, when that story is gonna drop. So like it's almost like you're on call essentially for 6 months. But I like structure. So knowing, okay, we're gonna be in the facility on Wednesday, on Thursday, Friday, we're talking to the coach, and then Saturday travel, like I thrive. I become the best version of myself. Even my fiance said it too. She's like, thank God, now you can get out of the house.
Get out of my hair.
It's like, you're not doing enough chores to warrant spending this much time in the house. So it's time for me to leave.
And for our viewers who don't know you, why don't you tell us about how long you've been in Miami and maybe where you were prior to Miami?
Sir, this is going to be my 4th season covering the Dolphins for ESPN. This is overall NFL season number 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. Before this, I was in Buffalo, New York for 2 seasons covering the Bills for ESPN, who I'm sure everybody watching this is quite familiar with. And before that, I covered the Carolina Panthers for
Keep pounding.
really about 8 months. Yeah, like nobody ever remembers me from that. That was kind of like a blip in the radar. But
what years were you in?
Carolina and Buffalo.
So I got there midway through the 2018 season. Got to Carolina midway through 2018. I was covering Clemson University, and I left halfway through Trevor Lawrence's freshman year, true freshman year. So like everybody asked like, oh, were you there for the national title? I was there like in between Deshaun's title and Trevor's title. So I covered the 1 year they didn't.
Just so everyone has a chance to talk about how I'm interrupting you for the first of many times, we like to refer to that season as Christian Wilkins' senior year. That's sort of how we look at it.
Still, to this day?
Always. Marcel must not know. I'm like, you covered Clemson? No, I'm just kidding. We'll get into that later.
She's a little bit of a fan of Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, he was the first player I interviewed at Clemson in the, scrum
Oh.
setting, but he was the first player that I ever talked to, and it was so before that, and I know I'm just digging
This
like
was
deeper into
organic.
my career.
Go ahead.
I covered high school sports, small town high school sports for 3 years. And when you're covering high school sports in small towns like that, it's just you. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll go
Mhm.
to a game and I am the only one talking to the coach. I am grabbing whatever player I want. Like it's a one man show. And so I show up to Clemson on one of their last days of like summer camp, fall camp, whatever they call it. And all of a sudden it's like I'm next to like David Hale from ESPN, and I've got like this person from CBS, and 5, 6 TV stations, and 10 newspapers, and 3 blog. I was like, I've never seen this many people, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, how to act. One of my beat partners was like, just look, man, just like stay on my hip, like follow me this first day, and you'll get the hang of it before long. And so I talked to Christian in this scrum, and then Dabble comes up a little while later, and he's like, "Oh man, I see a lot of new faces around here, like, or a lot of the same faces around here." And David Hale goes, "No, he's new," and points at me, and he's like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm thinking like Dabble's asking me like my life story, like, "Where are you from?" Well, I was born in Sacramento, but before my dumbass could get Sacramento out of my mouth, I realized he meant what outlet I'm from. So it's like I'm Marcel Louis-Jacques from orangeandwhite.com. Like it was a mess for like the
So
first
you didn't
couple
give him the
days.
life story?
I did not. Dabble to this day
Mm.
does not know my life story, and that's sad to me. It's sad. He's
So
missing out.
absolutely. So you went from Clemson to the Panthers?
I did. So I left halfway through that next season. Um, got on the Panthers beat for that year. Honestly, they started off like really good. They're like 4-2 the first 6 games I covered, and then like all hell broke loose. Like defense got really old. Cam Newton got hurt. Eric Reed
Yeah.
was getting drug tested, and I left. Like it's funny. I got in after the season was over. I was actually having like the worst day. My car had stopped. My reliable Toyota had stopped
No.
working. Like it wouldn't accelerate. Like when I pressed the pedal down, it would rev
It's a
up, but the
sign.
car wouldn't move. I was like, what?
Mm.
I don't know what to do. It was almost like I had it in neutral.
It's
So I
that.
took it to the shop, and they just called me like, yeah, we're gonna have to keep it overnight. And they called me again in the morning. Yeah, we're still figuring out what's wrong with it. And I was like, this sounds expensive.
Yeah.
My dog Morty, had torn up my house when I went to the gym. Like this morning
Mm.
sucked. And then I got an email and was like, "Hey Marcel, this is blah 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 with ESPN. We're looking to fill a role if you're interested." I was like, "Of course I'm getting pranked on this day too. Like everything else wrong is happening." But it wasn't a prank. Like they actually wanted me to come up to Buffalo. So
But
it
it's
was
kind of
fun
a
how that
joke.
worked out.
That's
Uh,
pretty dope. So it was not Marcel and the horrible, terrible, very what is it? Alexander and the terrible,
Terrible.
horrible,
terrible,
no
Not
horrible,
so
good,
no
good.
very
good.
good
Yeah.
day.
That
No
was the
good,
one.
very bad day. It worked out.
Yeah,
And then headed
sun
to
came up.
Buffalo.
So that's why Buffalo
Yeah.
will always have like a special place in
I
your heart.
feel like they
Yeah, and
saved you.
like it was home, and like I would love for people to understand this, because like I got so much hate, and to this day I still get the random little flack about you're a Bills fan to go back to Buffalo, this, that, and the third. But like that was home. You know what I'm saying? Like in my job, this is the 8th city I've lived in, and
Mm.
I've only been out of school for 10 years. Like this was my 10th
Wow.
year after
Yeah.
graduating. Like that's a lot, and not just like 8
Yeah.
cities around Florida and start like Lake Havasu, Arizona, Seguin, Texas, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, Buffalo, Miami. Like I've lived a lot of places. You know what I'm saying? So like I wasn't used to being in one area very
For so
long,
long.
and to be there for 2 years, like it was really home. Like that's the first time I've ever re-upped a lease in my life
Yeah.
was in Buffalo. So like I'm not a Bills fan, but like I never have a bad word to say
Got a
about the
little,
city of Buffalo.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
like it is what it is.
you would choose Miami to live, the city. You're choosing
I
Miami
have
to live in Miami over Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, I have no regrets about the move. I have my reasons. I think to this day it was a good career move. It was a good life move. I met my wife in Miami, so like
Yeah.
ultimately that was the end of the argument, right? Like that's like the mic drop moment, right? Like
Yeah.
what you think I'll tell me at this point? But no, I don't regret the move at all. I love living down here. We love living down here. I actually just signed a new contract, so I'll be here for another 3 years. Just got that signed last week. So clearly
LFG.
I like Miami a little bit, right? Like
There we
Mhm.
it's
go. There we go.
it's cool though. Weather is nice. It's cool looking at the ocean and going to the beach.
Yeah.
I wish it would be less expensive, but you have to
It's
pay
just
for quality,
Florida.
I guess.
It's Florida.
It's just
Everywhere
a
in
Florida
Florida.
thing.
But we don't have
Eh,
taxes. So we don't
that's
have
the
income
yeah,
taxes, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Or snow.
Oh, all right.
Y'all
So
got
I'll have
your own
one
things.
bad
but then
word to
I
say
but
about
then like
Buffalo.
I don't think that as a
Mhm.
positive. Like I lived up north and I really miss the seasons, especially fall. I
I
don't
did Rhode
miss like
Island for a
raking
year.
leaves and getting the
Yeah.
leaves out of my gutter and stuff like that, but I do miss
That's
seasons.
I
fair.
didn't know you
That's
did
fair.
Rhode Island, Mary.
Yep, lived in good old Rhode Island for a
And
year.
Britt did Pennsylvania. Look at all my
Mhm.
Northeasterners. Who knew?
It's
Who
not. I do
knew?
miss the seasons. It
The
sometimes it'll feel
best.
out here. It feels like that
Hell.
episode of SpongeBob way back in the
Hell.
day where like Squidward goes to the community of everyone that looks like him, and it's like the same
Yes.
day every day. Like
Mhm.
sometimes, like okay, here we go. It's 83 degrees for the
Yeah.
45th day in a row. Like I got so many jackets I can't wear now. I just want to wear a
Yes.
jacket every now and then. I want to
I
wear a
know.
hoodie.
Jacket,
There's
jackets,
so
boots.
many.
Ooh,
Yeah,
they're
there's so
nice.
many good.
And for
That's
the
why
older
Yeah.
generation, I think what Marcel is talking about is the movie Groundhog's Day. Very
Mm.
similar kind of
yeah,
scenario.
That's a
fair,
good
Same
movie.
weather at all
Yeah.
fair
times.
point. I
Yeah.
should age
Dope
myself
movie.
a little bit there.
No,
But it's
I'm
just
the age. I'm the one who ages herself. You
yeah.
you use SpongeBob. You good?
Okay,
It's
Mhm.
so
like
speaking of Buffalo, how do we beat them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
isn't that
Oh,
the $1 million
we might need to put
question,
that
huh?
on slow mo. That little he did.
Oof, oof.
I mean, like it's tough to
We
say
got
because
no
like
words.
Do you think this is our year to beat them?
I do feel like at the worst case scenario right now, or worst case scenario is you lose
Lose
both
both
games.
games
But I think
again.
the
Right.
realistic worst case scenario is like it's a split this year. I think they beat Buffalo at home there in week 2. We'll see how the season's going when they travel up to Western New York. You never know. I don't want to predict in the future and be held to a prediction. And all of a sudden, if we get there,
Oh, you're
3
going to
running
be.
backs are
Oh,
hurt
yeah,
and
you're going to be.
every
You're going
receiver
to be.
room is
We've been
out.
doing week by week predictions. We've
Yeah,
all
you're
been.
about
Yeah.
to be held. So don't worry.
Well,
Don't.
okay. I guess we're spilling tea then, huh? But
Nope.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so much simpler, obviously, than it actually is. But it starts with limiting Josh Allen. You are not going to stop Josh Allen because if he's not tearing you up through the air, he's very capable of doing so on the ground. We saw it repeatedly, even last year. 3rd and long, he scrambles for 20, 30 yards, whatever it was, and changes the game. So you have to limit that impact. You have to make sure he doesn't get hot, and you have to keep him off the field. I think if you're Miami, you have
Yeah.
to be able to sustain drives. It's what made it difficult to beat them 2 years ago. There was no run game. There was no sustaining drives. It was big play, big play, big play. They got a little better at that this past season. They added to that backfield here with Jalen Wright. I think they're going to be able to run the ball fairly well this season. We'll see how the offensive line holds up. But if you can attack what is right now a Buffalo defense that probably doesn't have an identity, right? When you lose guys like Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and now Matt Milano is out for an
Yeah.
indefinite amount of time. I don't know what the heartbeat,
Tre'Davious
what's the
White.
identity. Trey White is gone. Like they got some good corners. Russell Douglas,
Benson.
Christian
Benford.
from Nova, like good corners, but like I don't know what where the soul of that defense is, and I think that's something that takes a little bit of time to figure out. So it's good they're playing so early in the season. Maybe they can take advantage of that if you're Miami. But you've got to find the holes. You got to attack that defense and keep Josh Allen out the field because look, the more opportunities that man gets, the longer a day it's going to be for you as a Dolphins fan. You're going to be sitting there watching with your head in your hands and leaning back, head on, facing the ceiling. It's not going to be a fun day. The guy just simply owns Miami. Omar says it a lot, and I know people hate him for it, but
Yeah, we talked about
he's
this.
yet to tell a lie about that.
But
Like,
it is also true too. Like you pull up Josh Allen's stats, and like he plays his best games when he plays us. Like he just understands what he needs to do, and he does it amazingly.
Just
it's
like
almost
Tom
like
Brady played his worst
inexplicable at
games
this
against
point.
us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Tom
Tom
played
Brady,
his best games against Buffalo. So like
and
this
he
is
went
like
30. He went 33-3 against
see,
Buffalo.
like
Oh,
everybody has that boogeyman, right? And right now
Yeah.
it looks like because I mean there are games, and I Buffalo fans used to hate when I would say this like a year or so ago, but like there's only been like two, the 2021 when Tua broke his ribs on the second drive of the game, and
hmm
then I think last year in week 4, those are the only like straight blowouts. The other ones were like they were fairly close. Like there were opportunities for Miami to win XYZ game. It just came down to a handful of plays. But like Josh Allen's won like 13 of 15. One of them, a tight end dropped a touchdown, and the other was the Sun game that Bills fans love to complain about to this day. So like
well, listen, they
it's
haven't played in
yay
the sun
close.
since. They have not played us in the sun since.
And they're not
Squeaky
going
wheel
to
gets
this
And they're
the
not
year.
grease,
going to.
right?
That's going to be their
Yeah.
one game they choose every year to pick. And it's going to be, and we're not doing
I
1
think,
o'clock in this, either late in the season, we'll do it, or no.
yeah, we both just get trash. Like neither one of us gets our wish. They're going to do 1 p.m. in the sun, and we're going
And
to
then we're
do
going to do winter.
December. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
wait,
think what's the game
And
this
who
year? The
cares?
game's in. I'm looking
It's
at the calendar
November.
behind you. It's
It's
in
not too
November.
bad. It's
Yeah.
November, like,
So it's November 4th. This one down
yeah,
here when we're
Okay.
at the
Yeah.
Bills is November 4th.
that's right after Halloween. Like,
That's not that bad.
I mean, there could be a snowstorm on Halloween, but no,
It
but
could be chilly. It could be chilly, but it's not going to be
But
like
no,
not a
game
factor.
changing. Probably not going. It's probably not going to be game changing weather. So yeah, I think it's fair. If
yeah.
if there's no 1 p.m. games in the summer in Miami, then there shouldn't be January, December games, regular season games in Buffalo, right?
For
Mhm.
people going essentially,
Mhm.
like, for teams are essentially competing for probably the division title, right? I
I
think
mean,
that's a fair trade-off.
yeah, and also, like, look at how, like, our home record. I mean, I think the Titans was, like, one of our first losses in a long time, but, everyone always wants to say, "Oh, the Dolphins can't play in the cold." Who can play in the sun? Because we do really
Girl,
well at home.
it is hard. I don't
Yeah,
know how
I
they do it.
also I push back against the idea that Miami can't play in the cold. Like
Mhm.
um it was at Buffalo 2022, so McDaniel's first year.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They lost when the snow started falling. It was almost like it was like a power up for Buffalo. Like as soon as the snow started coming down,
And they
they
started
just woke up.
pelting snowballs at
Yeah,
the sky.
snowballs. Yep.
Yeah, like I
At the
wouldn't
bench.
say the reason why Miami lost that game is because it was cold.
No.
I
No.
think any reasonable Bills fan would admit that too.
No,
Like
they won't. Are you
they
kidding?
like to laugh at the "I wish it were colder" shirts, but like
Mhm.
it wasn't the reason why Miami lost that game. I didn't lose
And
that
it
game.
and it wasn't the
Yeah.
reason that they lost the playoff game either with Skyler.
No.
Like, both of those games were winnable for Miami, and we've talked about it a million times. I think people conflate the end of the season with cold, and
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the truth.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just our
It's
issue
just
isn't
when the
the
games
cold.
fall.
How do we stay healthy?
Yeah,
Because
how do we
it's not
finish?
about the cold. It's how do we stay healthy? Because that's our
Yeah.
issue.
And so I think that their answer to that, Miami's answer to that, or what they hope the answer is managing reps in unnecessary situations, right? So when people are wondering, why is nobody asking about Jalen Ramsey? Where's Jalen Ramsey? Where's this and that? If he's dealing with something minor, why make him push through it? You know what Jalen Ramsey can do. You know what he brings to the table, the level of preparation he brings. There's no reason to put him in a situation where he can aggravate something early in the season. The same goes for Teron Armstead. So like when these guys aren't practicing at certain points in the year, particularly training camp, OTA, this, that, and the third, like they're saying, okay, we're basically borrowing reps from here and hopefully adding them on the field at the end of the season. Beyond that, like there's no like that's the luck of the draw, man, in the NFL, right? Like there's going to be injuries. Somebody is going to get hurt, unfortunately. Like that's just the nature, it's the nature of football. But you just hope that you have enough depth to make up for that to an extent. Last year there wasn't enough depth in the
No.
world to help what you
We had
lost that
entire
pass rusher.
positional groups wiped out.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just it was as soon as Bradley went down, I said, oh well.
Mhm.
I forgot. And Van Ginkel went down the next week.
Yep.
That was when,
No,
okay.
when Chubb
Hang it
went
up.
down, I was like, okay, so I don't know how we survived this. And then ABG going down, I was like, yeah, no, we're done.
Over.
Pack it up, guys.
Oh, like Justin Houston and who was it? It was Justin Houston, Malik Reed, and who am I forgetting?
Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram.
There's a third one.
There's a third one.
What?
There is.
Oh my gosh, this
John.
is gonna bug me.
Was it
Bruce
no.
Irvin? Bruce Irvin.
Yes.
I was like, I can picture standing at his locker and talking to him. But yeah, like you're bringing in 12, 13-year vets off the street out of necessity to go play in a minus 25-degree game. Like,
against the Kansas City Chiefs. Nonetheless.
The season was, it was, there's no preparation for that. There's no depth for that. And so like, that's why context is important when you falter late in the season. Like you do have to look at what does your team look like?
Yeah.
So, but as you know, we've had this discussion a couple times in the media room. Those late injuries don't excuse the loss to Tennessee.
No, they don't.
It doesn't excuse the loss to Tennessee. It doesn't excuse the blowout loss to Buffalo, the loss to Philly, the first loss to Kansas City.
Okay. Well, first off,
there were moments.
Or the second loss to the Bills.
Week 4, Buffalo. Yes, we did awful. We deserved that loss. The Eagles game though was egregious, and I still want to know what it would have been if we had fair officiating, because who knows how that game would have played out.
It was poorly officiated.
I can't even like say, oh yeah, that was a fair loss. No, it wasn't.
It was poorly officiated. They didn't get pushed around at the line of scrimmage.
It was straight up like
it was badly, poorly, egregiously.
Yeah, and those officials got suspended.
The Raheem Mostert no call, the no PI call that I want to say ended in an interception, but it would have been a touchdown if he had a free pass to the ball.
And Cedric Wilson stands out as well. He got pulled by the face mask.
It's a bad game.
It was a bad game.
It was a bad game.
I would say too, just like the defense hadn't found its rhythm yet. On top of it, if that game was played later in the season before the rash of injuries, it might have gone differently, even with crappy officiating. But coming off of around Buffalo,
we had a touchdown that was called back. We had Tyreek, although he dropped it if he caught it, but that would have been touchdown. But who knows? That would have been probably called back too. That game could have been ours. We just don't know. Okay, let's talk about the 53-man roster, because we took the week off. We weren't here, so we haven't talked about it yet. So Marcel, what are your first initial thoughts of the 53?
Well, first initial thoughts, I was pleasantly surprised to see Jeff Wilson make that roster. I've got one right in front of me. We're just going to keep running down, starting at the top. Wasn't surprised that Skylar Thompson beat out Mike White, especially with how he played in the third preseason game. It was close enough, and if it's that close and you've got a cheaper option, you go with the cheaper option.
He gave us hope, that Bills game, that playoff game. I don't think Mike White has ever given us hope, and Skylar gave us that hope, and I think that a lot of fans still hold on to that too. And his performance was much better, I think, in the preseason game, but I still remember that. I refer back to that game versus the Bills when he gave us that hope.
He almost had it. You could tell he was a rookie playing on the road in his first postseason game. The processing speed was a little slow there. Some decisions, weren't made as quickly as you would like as a veteran, or Tua maybe would have made. But he kept them in the game, where he, didn't allow it to be a disaster for most of it.
Right.
Jeff Wilson had a really good camp. I think that his spot, Chris Brooks going into concussion protocol.
Is that what happened?
Preseason probably helped. Yeah, they just reached that injury settlement with him as well. I think that probably helped his case, but he did have a good preseason and a good camp. I don't want to take that away from him.
And he got picked up by Green Bay.
Chris Brooks did?
Today, yeah.
Oh.
So, no mas. Continue on.
I love Chris Brooks.
So Everybody loves Chris Brooks too, honestly.
But I'm wishing him luck in Green Bay.
Practice squad in Green Bay. Yeah.
I just hope a practice squad, so we don't see him on Thanksgiving.
The Chris Brooks revenge game would be crazy.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Oh my God.
The receiver room obviously looks a little thin.
Yeah.
Only keeping 4. It doesn't help that Odell's starting on PUP and River is on IR, so that's going to look
Ugh.
more like 6 than 4, the 4 that they initially kept. So I don't think that was, worth kind
Planned.
of,
Planned.
tripping out over.
Yeah.
Offensive line was a little bit surprised to see them let go of Jack Driscoll. I'm not saying that the guy was, the second coming of,
But
Orlando Pace, but like
better
he's a
than
body and
Zach Martin.
he's a quality lineman on a team that
needs it.
habitually loses linemen throughout the season.
Picked up
every
by
team
the
does, but like especially
back to
Right.
the Eagles. Back to the Eagles. Driscoll is.
And there we go. So
Wait,
that dream.
he went
is
back to
done.
the
Yes.
Eagles?
Yes.
What the are we doing? Like, I'm sorry, but like, what the are we doing?
They keep saying they're not as worried. I will say this
Yeah,
in their defense. In their defense, this coaching staff is good at developing linemen, has been good at developing linemen. If you look at what Austin Jackson was
Right.
3 years ago and what Austin Jackson is right now, if you look at what they've been getting out of guys like Keon Smith, like Robert Jones, like Kendall Lamb, like they can develop, like they trust their coaching here. This isn't the Dolphins. This isn't the 19, 20, 21 Dolphins, like 22, 23, 24. The problems have been depth and injury, not necessarily
Yeah, I
like,
was about to say they need
these guys stink.
bodies. They need bodies to develop. So let's get some
Yeah.
bodies.
Let's keep the
Yeah.
bodies like on the practice squad or something. Like,
Wasn't shocked that, they let go of Tier Tart fairly early on. Was a little surprised Jonathan Harris left, but the competition on that D line, it was close enough that like nothing really just like blew you away and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this guy didn't make." Let's
Yeah.
Sealer and Campbell are going to anchor that line. Deshaun Hand should rotate in. I know they like Brandon Peely a lot. We'll see how much action he actually gets. Anthony Weaver does like to rotate defensive linemen, so there should be opportunity there. Looking at the linebacker core, I don't think any surprises there. Quentin Bell had, been talked about throughout the preseason and training camp. I think he fell off a little bit after a hot start to training camp, but clearly good enough to make the roster. And with Bradley Chubb still, set to miss first 4 games, you
Makes
need
sense.
bodies there.
Absolutely, yeah.
They learned their lesson.
And apparently better like in practice, or seem to show out more in practice than games. Like, did you see that?
Yeah, which is it is an issue. It is
concerning.
an issue. Like, you don't like practice heroes. Nobody likes practice heroes.
I know,
when the lights
but we
go
never
on,
know.
you show up.
But you know what? It might be maybe needs to get juiced up for like real other starters or whatever around him in like a real game environment. So that's what we're going to go with for now.
And maybe, his role on this team is going to be a situational pass rusher.
Yeah.
Anyways, when fully healthy, like the rotation is Phillips, Chubb, Agba, Chop. Mo Kamara is going to come in there a little bit. Like, there's going to be a wave after wave after wave, but like it's not like they're going to rely on Quentin Bell to play 30 snaps a game. So I think for what, and if he can contribute on special teams, that's even better. Defensive backs, Storm Duck making that initial roster. Storm Duck and Patrick McMorris making those. Like, we heard from Weaver last week that like some of these young corners, some of these young DBs are playing well enough that like not only will they make the 53, but like we could see a real role for them. Like, we can see them really contributing on defense. So like I'm looking forward to seeing how they mix those guys in. Safety was a very clear area of need entering this offseason. I think they addressed it well. I like Jordan Poyer. Me and Poe go way back to when I first got to Buffalo. It's good to be working with him again, covering him again. There's a lot to say. People have a lot to say about his durability. He is banged up frequently, but he doesn't miss time, if that makes sense. So like he's banged up a lot, sure, but that dude is going to play. Like, we're talking about a guy who drove 15 hours from Buffalo to Kansas City with, I think it was like either fractured ribs or punctured lungs, something crazy, because he wasn't allowed to fly, but he still
punctured lungs. I think, wasn't it a punctured lung?
I'm pretty sure
a broken rib that punctured his lung.
It could be all of the
above. I feel like
it makes sense to me. Either way, it was an injury that he couldn't fly with, but he could sit in a sprinter van sat in a sprinter van for 15 hours, still played. Like, the guy is tough. And they need that kind of mentality. They need that, dog. You hear that a lot. You need dogs on your team.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Poe's
That's
a
a
dog.
dog. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a dog. Marcus May, good player.
Mhm.
Obviously Javon Holland is Javon Holland. Looking forward to seeing what Nick Needham can do. He's been obviously mixing in a little bit there at safety.
Do you think they're
Practice
gonna pull him
squad
back?
now,
Yeah.
but I think they're gonna end up playing. He's not gonna be on that practice squad forever. And Patrick McMorris, I do want to focus on because he did pop in games. Like he popped in games. He made plays. He was around the ball. I don't know if they're going to rely on him for, again, 30, 40, whatever snaps a game. But if somebody is banged up in game, I think this is a guy that they can trust to
For
stay in that
real. Yeah.
rotation and not be a liability.
Mhm.
Corner, they need, after letting go of X, they needed somebody opposite Jalen Ramsey. Kendall Fuller fits that role. Don't let a down year in Washington fool you. Everything was down in Washington. It was a terrible defense. I love Ron Rivera to death, but that was not acceptable. That was not acceptable. So I'm not going to hold him to the sins of a head coach or sins of a scheme. Kendall Fuller, still a good player and cheaper than Xavier Howard. The drop off, if there is one, would be minimal. I think there's higher potential for him to be better than Xavier Howard at this point.
Yeah.
Joe Shad's son, Ethan Bonner, making the squad.
Wait,
Caught a lot
what?
of people's
Why
attention.
is he? Wait,
Wait,
tell
He's
us.
not
You
actually
got
Joe
it.
Shad's son, but
I mean, we
just,
know it's not, but we need to know why he is.
Yeah.
you guys haven't seen, he loves Ethan Bonner. He
Oh,
tweets
does
about him
he
all
really?
the time. He tweets all the time. He loves
Is he
Ethan Bonner.
obsessed?
Really?
That is his favorite player. Yeah, and
Does
I
Ethan
don't
Bonner
Really?
know about this
I
love?
yeah.
He does.
Yeah, without saying exactly
Does Ethan
He
Bonner
knows.
want
yeah,
a
I
restraining
think
order, or
Ethan
is he flattered?
Do they write love
No,
letters to
it's
each
not like
other?
creepy
Or...
it's not creepy or weird, but like
Well,
that
sometimes there are
is
restraining orders that aren't creepy or weird.
or,
Yeah.
or
No, I'm
dangerous.
kidding. I'm kidding.
It's not dangerous.
I'm
But no,
kidding.
I think it's no secret that like just
He's
go to
obs-
Shad's
okay.
page and type in Ethan Bonner and search
I'm
for
going
him.
to right
I'm going to,
now.
like, literally,
Like,
right
loves
when this
immediately,
ends, I'm
yeah.
doing that.
He
Mhm.
loves Ethan Bonner. But like one thing about Bonner, we hear a lot about his speed. Really good size for the position.
Yeah.
Good size. I didn't necessarily realize that. I hadn't
He
seen
like
next to him a
long?
whole lot of times. I'm 6'1", 6'2". He is my height or taller. Listed at 6'1", 186. But he's a big corner. They've got a lot of good size on this team at the cornerback position. Obviously, and Jalen Ramsey he could be a safety. Honestly, like Saran Neal, Storm Dog, all these guys are 6 foot and up. Only one under is Cater Kohu, and Cater is built like a brick, so you don't have to be 6'2". But like good DB room, and the specialists are the specialists. It is weird. I will say it's a little odd that there hasn't been any competition brought in since I've been here for Jason Sanders during the offseason. I think they just kept believing, kept trusting, and he was a lot better at the end of last season
In the
than he
beginning,
was
yeah,
in
for sure.
2022. But I thought 22 was bad enough that it warranted bringing in competition, between those. So it's kind of odd to not have seen it, but clearly they trust their guys. Jake Bailey was kicking the stitches out the ball throughout training camp. I'm not a punter whisperer, but he looked good to me.
What was the deal with that punter that was sitting outside of Hard Rock? Anything ever? Oh, you're rolling your eyes.
Does anything ever
goodness.
happen
That
with
was-
that?
Honestly,
Yeah.
like I think it was cool, like the first time anybody ever did it,
Mhm.
but like it's a little corny at this point. It's a
Is he
little
still
corny
out
at this
there?
point. No.
Is he
That's
He's-
I
oh,
think Danny
you didn't
Crossman
hear?
shut that
Right?
down with prejudice.
Yeah.
He's at Carolina now.
Wait, like sitting
I didn't even
outside?
know
Sitting
that.
outside?
Yeah.
Or in the building.
I'm just messing with you.
You
I was about
little.
to say I can't speak to
like,
that.
I was like,
but
what?
The crazy thing is, Mary, is I believed it. Like,
Yeah.
he sat out in the heat of Miami forever.
Yeah.
That's
But
the thing.
can
Like
you-
people,
Passion.
that doesn't necessarily mean like you
Like you're good.
deserve a shot. Like just because you're willing to. If I sat outside the White House every day for
Yeah.
8 hours a
President.
day, it doesn't mean I get to be
Yeah.
president. Like you don't.
It's
That's not how this works. Like Jake
Yeah,
Bailey's a
and-
former All Pro. Like that's
And I think that's exactly what Danny Crossman said, like when asked about it in media.
yeah,
Sure, you were there.
yeah.
And really,
Well,
like, who's
just
gonna set
little
a
corny.
precedent to, like, if you stalk us,
Yeah,
we'll-
if you
we'll give you
a
whine
workout.
enough, like we will
Yeah.
give you a
Like,
tryout. That's not
He
Yeah,
need to
no,
get an
it's not how it
agent. He
works.
need to get an agent. That's
That's
what
what
he
I'm
needs
talking
to
about.
do.
You can't just send your script in
Mhm.
unsolicited to a production company. That goes through your agent.
I'm
But
with
I
yeah.
respect the hustle a little bit. Like, good for you, kid.
I respect dedication
Yeah.
to the what's it called? The grafts, the grifts, the grifts.
The
Graft.
grift.
Dedication to the grift,
The
to the bit.
grift.
But there was no way that I don't think that was like anything that was
No.
ever taken seriously by
And
the Dolphins.
his
Matter of fact,
yeah.
I'm willing to go on record and say that was not taken seriously by the Dolphins. So that
Noted.
was never again, like competition deserves competition. Like I think that that's never a bad thing, but you do only get so many players. If they feel comfortable with the guys that are kicking the ball, then by all
Mhm.
means, man.
Seems also like there's a process in place for getting on the roster.
Like the
And
process
it
is
doesn't
like
include like
you're scouted, you are contacted, you are brought in for a tryout, and you earn your you
Mhm.
earn your position. Like it's
Right.
not you don't just like camp out. So like
And
again, I think it
then
was
you're
like
on
a
the
fun
team.
bit. Yeah, I think it
Mhm.
was a fun
yeah.
bit the first time I think someone maybe did it like in Atlanta or it might have even been here. Like somebody did it first. He's not the first guy to camp out and
I
say,
didn't
"Give
know
me a
that.
shot." But
I did
like,
not know that. But this
it's
is
not
a
it's not cute
yeah.
anymore. I don't think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
cute anymore.
Yeah.
Captains were just released. Was there anybody that you were,
Yes.
because there's a little shift from last year, a couple
Mhm.
names that are still on the roster that aren't captains anymore. Are you surprised by any of the captains? Do you think there's a cap on captains, right? I'm assuming it's the 8. Is it 8?
That's the most I think I've seen. Although
Okay, so
I,
is there
I feel
anybody
like I've seen 10 somewhere, but
okay,
it
is there
sounds like
anyone
you're.
you're surprised it's not a captain?
I guess I think the knee jerk answer is probably Javon Holland because he was a captain last year.
Right.
But like this is something where fans are upset, and I've seen shouldn't be stripping him of. I don't know if strip is the right way
Yeah.
to put it, because technically there were no captains at the time, right? Like it's a year by year thing, and
Mhm.
this is a list that it's decided by the team, it's decided by the
Right.
players, decided by the coach. So like this is who they feel like leads them, then by all
Mhm.
means. And like if you're gonna, let's say the cap is 8, let's say you have 8 captains, right? It's like the NBA, like the All-Star or Pro Bowl argument. Like you can't just say this guy deserves to be there. You got to say who you're going to replace. So you placing Sealer? No.
Well, no,
Ramsey?
that's
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tyreek? Tua?
Congratulations to Zach.
Ingold?
Yeah.
Terod?
Congratulations to Zach.
No, I was gonna
Yeah.
say who was your one you were most happy about? Mine was gonna be Sealer.
Oh yeah, like yeah. I think it's a good list. And Calais,
Me
I know
too.
he's a newcomer, but like it's Calais Campbell.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
guy breathes leadership,
Hello.
Yeah.
exudes leadership. So like no, I don't have any issue with it. I wasn't surprised particularly by it. These are guys, when we talk to them, people can have their opinions of Tyreek. I'm sure they do. But what we constantly hear from the team is that Tyreek leads by example. He works, he works, he works. Like he might come off as a diva to people who aren't around the team and people who know him for his past, past behavior, past this, that. But like, as far as a team leader, like they've had
Mhm.
no complaints. It's 3 years running at this point.
Mm.
Like they see
Yeah.
him as a captain. So
What
like
about
if that's
Raheem?
who they see, like
Yeah.
I think,
The
Raheem.
one.
and Raheem like could be a cap, like he could be seen as a omission, I guess. But
Mhm.
like just because you're not a captain does not necessarily mean you can't
You're
lead.
not a
You know what
leader.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he's still like,
That's a
especially in
good
that
point.
running backs room, like he might as well be their captain.
Right.
Like the way he took Devon, the way he takes Jalen Wright under his wing, like almost tough love with Jalen. I think it's a little sarcasm, but like he is
Mhm.
that's their captain in essence. It doesn't mean like they
Yeah.
don't look to Mostert, or if he talks, like they say, "Hey, bro, you ain't got no C on your chest." Like
Yeah,
I
no.
don't hear what you're saying. It's not like he can't lead. He's just not technically a captain. But again, like
Mhm.
if this is what the team has decided, then I think
Yeah.
it's more out of place for fans to say like, "Oh, this is wrong,"
Like
rather
we know.
Right.
than yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
that's
Like
worse
we don't
than
know.
any omission. Yeah,
How can
exactly.
fans say like this is who I think should be the captains of the team when you aren't even in the locker room? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Although I will
Exactly.
say
Like
again, shout out to Zach Sealer for
Yeah.
your
That's
good
amazing.
becoming
dude.
a captain.
Really good dude.
Like
Happy to see that for him.
yeah,
Yeah.
and for
And
him
like
to
Clearly
like
means a lot for him.
evolve
obviously
in his
Jalen
role as a
Ramsey needed to
leader.
be a captain. Like he should have been a captain last year, but he ended up on IR. So that Jalen Ramsey not being a captain just doesn't make sense. But I'm also sitting here wearing a Jalen Ramsey shirt. So, of course, like, I'm going to
Show us, Britt. Yeah.
show it.
Love it.
Can you
Yeah.
guys
It's
see it?
amazing. It's so good. Now we can see. We got a full
Yeah.
face. Yeah. We got a full
Yeah.
face.
So talking about Joe's obsession and restraining orders, like, please don't get a restraining order up against me, Jalen.
I was about to say, I feel like I'm gonna have to answer to him in the media room tomorrow. But like, I tell to his face that like, Ethan Bonner might as well be your son, man. That is his favorite. That is his favorite player. At least
You know,
it is a player he talks about frequently and has written about. You know that
It's
I
so
don't think
funny.
it's too much of a secret.
and like Javon's, you know how each year everyone asks, like, who's your most improved player? Who's like the surprising player? Wasn't it Javon Holland who said it's Ethan Bonner this year? Like, watch out. Like, he's made the biggest leap.
Guys speak
Which
highly
is,
of Ethan Bonner. Like
Mhm.
I don't think that it's wrong to like Ethan Bonner for for the
no,
record. Like I
It's
think
no,
not.
he's got
no.
a
Yeah.
lot
It's
of
not.
tools to be
I would,
excited
no.
about.
I
Mhm.
liked him. I thought like in the preseason game, it looked like, and I don't know who he was like. I don't know who he was like up. I don't know who he was defending. I don't know, but like it looked like he could dial up speed at will. Like he was like keeping up with someone, and when like it was like he had another gear, and I was a little shocked to see it on the sideline. To be honest, like it looked like when he needed to go faster, like he just had it.
And
So
that
I
is the
don't know.
beauty. That's the
It
beauty
was
of like trying to guard Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at practice, right? Like
yeah, right.
you kind of learn like, okay, this is when I need to. This
I'm
is when I can
sorry. It
save
was.
speed. This is when I can do this that.
I apologize. It was Jalen Waddle who said it. Yeah, I don't know if I
Mm.
said Javon. It was Jalen Waddle who said the dude who I think has made the biggest leap is Ethan Bonner, and that makes way more sense because he's going against him, right? But it looked like he could literally dial it up. I think it was the first preseason game. One play, I was like, well, damn, I know Tyreek told us about his speed. I know it's a thing. I know it's a joke. Like,
It's
and it
running.
is.
You know, I don't. It's funny
But
to hear because it's unexpected, but I don't think it's a joke. Like the dude can
no,
burn. The dude can
no.
run.
That one game, I was like, like I was pretty impressed after the first game. Just like, I don't know, it looked good.
Yeah. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. And speaking of, well, not speaking of, but when we pivot to our coach, Mr. Mike McDaniel, now in year 3, right?
Yes.
How do
Year
you
three.
think year 3, man? How do you think that he has evolved from not from year 2 really to year 3? What do you besides looking like a caveman? What and what are you expecting from him in year 3 to be the biggest like that's a coach that's improved?
I think like so. Let's go back to 2022, right? You
Mhm.
know, Tua playing in Cincinnati.
Mm.
I think Tua had
Mm,
maybe some
mm,
say
mm.
in his desire to play.
Mhm.
Obviously, you know, hindsight's 2020, keep him
Mm.
out. I think this version of Mike McDaniel kind of knows when to put his foot down with players, and not that like he was getting run over by players in 2022, but I think like he has grown more comfortable in that role of
And
like
saying no.
no, like saying no, like telling people like no, you're not practicing, no, you're not playing, no, you're not ready. Like it's not just like a you know, okay, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you.
Mhm.
I think that was a wake up call for him, and obviously, you know, he got crushed by that, you know, nationally, but it was a learning moment
Yeah.
for him. I think it
Absolutely.
was a learning moment for him, and I don't think it's
That
something that we'd see again. I think we see a little bit more caution from him, like a little bit more hesitation to just like trust guys saying like, yeah, I'm good to go. You have to be a certain level of vet. Like if Teron Armstead says, I'm good, trust me, I can go. Teron Armstead is playing. Like that's
Right.
that. Like, but you have to be that kind of veteran in order to like get that earn that benefit of the doubt. So like I
So what about
appreciate that
OBJ
he's
then?
so
we don't even know him yet.
But you would see OBJ and say he's a seasoned vet. And OBJ, from according to Chris Greer's presser, said that he did not want to go on pup. He wanted to start, and they made the decision, him and McDaniel, to put him on pup. So
Good example of setting
it's a
boundaries.
good yeah. I think like it kind of sets the tone, right?
Mhm.
Like hey, we don't know that. Like we don't know you yet, and not that they outright distrust Odell Beckham, but like I think if he had maybe 3 years in the system and they see like, okay, like this is how his body reacts in this scenario and that scenario, you could do all the research and background
Mhm.
you want, but like until you
Mhm.
see it for yourself, like it's hard to really know for sure. So like I think like this is something that they kind of set like it's set again, set a boundary on. Like we need you late in the year. We don't need you in September as badly as we're going to need you in December and
Right.
ideally January. You got to remember though with Odell too, like there are incentives tied to his contract. I know when it was reported, like the initial reports were like, oh, it's a 1 year, $8 million or 9, 10, whatever $1 million deal. Not really. I talked to somebody right after. It's a 1 year, like $2 or $3 million deal that can earn up to, whatever the number is, 8, 9, $10 million for the season if you hit certain benchmarks. So
XYZ.
like, yeah, so like, of course, if you have an incentive laced contract, like you want
You
to
wanna
hit those
play.
incentives, you want to play. So like, I don't think that had anything to do with Miami holding him out. It's like, oh yeah, we don't want to pay you. Like,
No.
I think teams will happily pay the money for
Oh
that
yeah.
production. That's why those incentives are in there. They're like, we're
Right.
willing to take all that money. You can take
Yeah.
all of it as long as
Happily
you
take
do
it.
this.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
by all means, we're getting our money's worth. So like, I don't think that had to do with why he's starting on PUP. I think this is something that they were more or less prepared for when they signed him in
Yeah.
May. Like he had this
Yeah.
pre-existing injury. That's why the contract is incentive laced or
Mhm.
laden.
There.
He wanted a lot more, was not
He
getting
got.
it in the market, but like this is a
Mhm.
good situation for him when he is healthy. But like it's something like players aren't even really BSing about, right? Like how many times have we heard Tua say like, I don't know what
I
my
haven't.
chemistry is with Odell.
Yeah,
I
like
haven't
I
thrown to
haven't
him.
thrown a single route.
Yeah. Like I'm
Mhm.
not gonna sit here and say like, yeah, I know that we can do this and that. Like it's like, no, I don't know, man. And
Yeah.
it's a refreshing honesty. It's refreshing honesty
It is.
because
I
that's
agree.
real. You don't
Yep.
know. He
Hmm.
hasn't been on the field.
Mhm.
But I don't think I would call it, there's the pessimistic, the most some Dolphins fans who maybe have PTSD from a few seasons ago are throwing out, Byron Jones and throwing out Will Fuller and
I forgot
like,
about him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think that it's that serious. Like I think there's a lot more behind the scenes than like has been reported and can be reported at this point with both of those players. But like we didn't even see those guys. I didn't see Byron Jones all year 2022. Like I didn't see Will Fuller. We weren't allowed in the locker room, but like we didn't see him at practice, at
Oh
this and
yeah.
that. Like, I didn't see him at all. I've seen Odell plenty of times, so like
Speaking
he is around.
Okay, so what about Isaiah Wynn? Because
That girl, yes.
yeah.
No.
That's
Apparently
Girl,
I'll
he
say
yes.
he should go on a milk carton because he's not
yeah,
been
Chris
seen.
Kaufman. He wrote a
PK.
yeah, he had
Yeah.
this funny line, and he was like, nobody can confirm whether Isaiah Wynn is alive, and like I don't think it's that serious, but like it is kind of funny because I haven't seen him since that Eagles game. Like he hasn't practiced, haven't seen him work, like haven't seen him around. And there are a lot of places to hide in that facility from us. Don't get me wrong. Like just because I don't see somebody doesn't mean
Doesn't
that
mean
they're
they're
not there. But like we haven't seen him, and kind of mum's been the word for the past several months. Like they are going to have to start answering these questions eventually now that the season is
No,
starting.
no, they have to. They have to. Thank
So
Yeah,
God.
they have to
It's
because
yeah,
it's
happening now.
like at the very
Give
least we're
us the
going to
tea.
see updates on him, but like if
like
he's on IR they don't necessarily have to like list it every week or answer it every week,
Mm.
but like it's going to be apparent before long. Patience is the play, but they need him back.
yeah. And like Chris Greer, he said like he's been working really hard, he's in the building, blah blah blah. But that it's like not the same vibe from like who was it that said like it was Mike McDaniel. It was in his presser, like, something else came up basically. And yeah,
Compounding injuries.
yeah, compounding injuries were the word to
Hmm.
use. Yeah.
So like the
Hmm.
thing with the thing with Mike is like
Don't
he
say he's like
does
Tyreek and we can't believe anything.
he doesn't
Nope.
like to lie, right? Like he doesn't like to be purposely
So I should
misleading.
believe him when he says we are not
I
worried about the
do.
offensive line.
But like he also
Mhm.
doesn't, again, and this is part of like just kind of learning the game a little bit, like the game outside the game. Like
Yeah.
he also isn't just gonna like divulge information when he doesn't have to. And like I do appreciate not it's frustrating for everybody else who wants answers, but like I appreciate not setting public timelines because like then you're holding that player to that timeline. So if like he says Isaiah Wynn should be good to go in 6-7 weeks, okay, everybody is going to run with that, right? Like,
Yep.
and
And
that's what we're
then
expecting,
setting
6-7
ourselves
weeks.
up for, yep.
But what if his body doesn't respond? What if he re-injures himself? Like, what if it doesn't heal the way that it's supposed to heal? Now, all of a sudden, it's a disappointment that he's not ready. When in reality, it's not his fault. So, like, I respect not giving timelines there, and I understand it's probably hard to answer that question and like dance around it, right? But like, he is trying to if you translate Mike McDaniel, like, yeah, I don't have a crystal ball. It's him saying, dude, I don't know, and I'm not telling you if I did.
Just a really fancy way of saying it.
Yeah, very nice way. He coach speaks too, like any other coach. He coach speaks, but his is just a little more interesting, sometimes more long-winded, and generally respectful of your time. And I can appreciate that.
Under promise, over deliver, maybe, as it turns out.
That's the one.
Yeah.
All right, Marcel, we did it kind of turned into like it wasn't supposed to be a game, but it was with Omar, and it turned into a game, and it was so much fun. So we're going to continue it on. With Omar, it was fine dining or clubbing beat writer edition, and he named the beat writers and said like if they are clubbing or fine dining. So we're going to do that with you, but we're not going to do fine dining or clubbing. We are going to do swag or drab. So stylish or could use some help.
Ooh, man, I'm gonna have some questions to answer in that room, but all right, we can do that.
Starting off, we'll go with Joe since we've been talking about Joe. Joe, is he swag
Ethan
or drab?
Bonner's dad.
I'd say I think Joe's got consistent style to him. Consistent style to him. Like sport coat and a shirt every Sunday. Florida comfortable during the week. The thin long sleeves, same shoe. Like, no, I would say like he's got his own style and it suits him. He wears it well. I'll go style.
All right. What about? So he's got swag. Adam Beasley.
Swag.
Adam Beasley and I showed up wearing the same pair of shorts one day, so I can't always say I gotta be careful with the swag or not. He does forget a jacket sometimes on game days, and that's a no-no in like a warm jacket. That's a no-no because that press box gets cold. But I would say kind of golf dad swag is how I would describe Beasley. So if you like that swag, if you don't, then it's drab, but it is golf dad.
Golf dad, that's fine. Golf dad swag.
All
golf
right.
dad swag works.
Omar
swag. Top tier shoe game. Always comfortable, or always puts in some effort. He doesn't look like he just threw nothing on and showed up to work. I can appreciate that. Omar swag. Good variety shoe game as well. Like, no,
yeah, I could totally see that.
Fits are hard.
His daughter always looks good.
It's critical, right? Like, that's how you know. Like,
he makes sure her hair looks good, puts her in a cute little dress, good shoes. He makes sure his picture next to her, he's got good shoes, a good outfit on. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's who McDaniel saying, "Oh, I love a good sneaker." Like, it was Omar, so it's gotta be swag, right?
Perkins.
Oh man, I love Perk, but I gotta go drab because he will wear these like kind of Jesus sandals, like the Velcro Jesus sandals every now and then, like toes out and everything. Like, yeah, I don't know if they're Velcro, but they strike me as Velcro. Like, I love Perk to death. That's my guy. But like, yeah, he could definitely he could. I think out of the Sun Sentinel tandem, I think Fronis is the better dress there.
Oh yeah, so David, swag or drab?
Again, David swag. Like, I've seen him because we got to this beat around the same time. Like, I have seen that wardrobe build, after time or over time. I was like, okay, like, this is you got it. You got these like Voiri joggers. I know I got a couple pairs before we went to LA. And he saw them. He's like, "Oh man, what are they like? Where you get them from? Like, what's the company?" And all of a sudden, like this man got like a wardrobe. He got like fits with Warrior joggers on and everything. Like again, consistent on game day. I would say, yeah, David can dress. David can dress
Evolving.
himself.
Like
Evolving,
we
learning,
don't expect
willing
you
to
to
grow.
drop in here at your most perfect form. Just like McDaniel, we're evolving through the
Exactly.
seasons.
No, I have seen the wardrobe grow. I'll give him that.
There we
I'll
go.
give him
That's
that.
all we can ask. That's all we can ask. What about Hal?
Barry.
That's all we need to know.
Hal and
Hal
Barry.
and Barry.
Barry definitely not swag. Like don't I don't think he's trying to be, but like
And he
no, like
probably doesn't even care either.
exactly. Like I don't think that's what he's going for. I think
Yeah.
he puts his fit together and he's like, Hal's got his own style too.
He's got to be
Like
like an OG. I bet he has his own version of swag, right?
like
Like he
sometimes
dresses up for work,
his style is that like
right?
if he told me that he just biked here, I would believe it. Like he looks like he is ready for like a 5K at any time, and he could probably do it
All
like at the
right.
drop of
All
the
right.
hat.
Well,
He's a biker. Like he's a little athlete, man. Like don't disrespect
Really?
Hal. Don't sleep on
I'm
Hal.
not.
Hal is an
I'm not.
athlete.
I'm not.
No.
I would in no way, shape, or form disrespect Hal. I asked about
And
him
then
just to.
We
right.
need to ask Marcel, what where are you standing in the swag of beat
Mm.
writers? Are you at the very top? How are you ranked?
Should we
Oh,
rate him?
man.
Just kidding.
Oh yeah.
I was about to say that's like
Well, we don't
I'd
know.
rather let other people tell me if I am or not, but if I have to answer for myself, yeah, I think I put in the effort. I put in the effort on Sunday. I'm a big turtleneck and sport jacket, turtleneck and blazer kind of guy. I committed to the bit in Buffalo, and I already bought the turtleneck. So like, I don't care if it's
Fair.
hot here. I'm just gonna get
Yeah.
them off. I'm gonna get these fits off.
Honestly, you're second in your house, though. We all know.
Second in my house,
Oh,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah.
Haley helps me.
We
I have to
are
run
ready.
everything by her
Woo!
because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
she doesn't. If it doesn't get her approval, I'm not gonna wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swaggy.
That's how it is.
Good man
Yep.
right there.
Good.
Good man.
No, but
I'm
for
trying.
real. Yeah.
I'm
She
trying.
looks
But yeah,
amazing.
no, I think sneaker game between me, Omar,
Cinco
and Kim,
minutos.
like nobody is touching the three of us there. So
Yeah.
like I think we're in a special tier. We're in a special.
Yeah.
It's fair to say. I've
Okay.
had Mike McDaniel give me a little,
Oh,
a little
for
double
real?
take
hello.
in the front
Oh.
row. So
Hello.
like I think I'm doing all right. I think I'm doing all
Yeah.
good.
All right. That's
Humbly as possible, I think I'm doing okay.
I like it. I like it. We can go to Joe's tweet from this morning where he was like, tagging everyone. What was that?
Oh my God.
I was like, the
What'd
one
he
where he
do?
chose violence. He chose violence
Mentions
this
are
morning.
blowing up because of that. It's like
What did
I
he
just,
do?
Mute
Did you
it.
not see
it
his
was
tweet this?
the idea was nice, like the follow your beat writers, the
I didn't
daily
see
beat
that.
writers.
Rather than like the people who live in a basement in Central Florida. Central Florida doesn't have basements, though, Joe. Come on now.
I heard that, but I didn't read it.
Yeah, I think we are.
I heard him say it.
We have
he
been
said
in this kind of like Cold War with aggregate accounts for the past few years, and I think there is a difference between content creators and aggregators. Y'all are content creators. We are doing content right now that you have created. Like there are like there's plenty
Thank
of people
you.
out there. Aggregators are like and it's not something that bugs me a lot because I really
And
don't
we can cut
like to
this
take
out.
myself
We
that
can
seriously. You
cut it
keep
out too. So you
I
can.
don't give a shit. You guys can keep this. Like I hope that they know.
Keep it.
Like I
Keep
don't
it.
take myself
All right.
so seriously that I need to like bang the table as this protector
Right.
of my tweets or so. Don't take this, da da da. But like when you will like say use a real example. Dolphins practice moves indoors. There's only media can be in there. I take a picture of Cam Smith a couple of years ago wearing the red jersey, say hey, Cam Smith is back at practice. And I tweet it out. And then an aggregator will take that photo and then post it and say like Cam Smith is back at practice.
Right.
Sometimes
Literally
sometimes
taking your content.
yeah, sometimes they'll say, oh, parentheses, photo by Marcel. But like, let's be honest, like, how many people are going to click on my profile and go to me for information if they're seeing it from you? Like, that's an extra step. People are lazy.
Yeah.
So like, that's not,
It's like a Christopher Columbus move.
you're giving credit technically, but like that, you did take my photo.
I get it now.
And
Is
get
this
it's a little
I
bit like,
understand it now.
is this
you
like
could've-
not a colleague, you're a colonizer moment?
But also, like, this is why Twitter has the
And you know I'm
retweet
right.
and quote
Yeah,
tweet. It's
you can
so
quote
it makes
tweet.
it
You can.
so easy.
It's super. Oh, you can add your own little flavor to it. If you wanted to
Yes.
say
Wow.
something,
Like,
wow, looks
it
like
takes
Cam
more
Smith is
work
back.
stealing it, saving the photo, it takes more work than just hitting the retweet or quote tweet
That's what
button.
I'm saying.
I
That's
will
the
never
one
get it.
that. That's the
I'm a
one that bugs
teacher.
me.
I was so inspired by Mary. I'm using her stuff. Like, shout out to Mary Crippen.
Yeah,
she
Mary
could
just
have
had that
clipped off
happen to
in your
her.
honor. She could have done something. Like,
It was
literally,
yeah,
like, bar
it
for
was
bar stole her
yeah,
stuff, and it was
that
weird.
that's
It was
what
very
it
weird.
was.
But also
Bar
she's
for bar.
trying to profit off of it now too, and that's
Selling
what
it on
gets
And
me.
so that's the next thing too. So like,
Yeah.
it doesn't impact me as much working for ESPN as it does like the Sun Sentinel, the Herald,
The beat
the
writers.
Post, where like you are reliant. That's a subscription model. Like you're relying on that. And so like it is taking money out of people's pocket because now if you have that check mark, you're profiting off of something I did. Like
Mhm.
you just see me like, wow, you're so lucky. How could you? This is petty. You get to do this and that, and you're worried about Twitter. No. I've been working for 10 years to get here.
Mhm.
I've been, I spent nights 4 or 5 a.m. in the office tracking down high school scores in the middle of Arizona, in the middle of rural Texas. I'm driving my ass across the country, stop by stop by stop, in order to be one of the few people who are invited into this situation. So like, I have worked very hard to get here. I'm not just lucky, like I earned this. And you are taking what I've done and you're profiting off that. And that's the one that I would be like, okay, like, hey man, like let's be easy there. So like it's tough because like on Twitter, everybody kind of fancies themselves a reporter or a journalist or a newsbreaker and this or that, and not everybody went to journalism school. So like while this is a fundamental philosophy in J school, like not everybody has that education. So like it's hard to hold people to certain standards, but like that is what makes people upset. Like I'm not protecting the environment. Like nobody else can talk about the Dolphins. This is my team. Like go.
Right,
Mhm.
no,
It's not that damn
right.
serious.
It's taking your content
Yeah,
that
like
you
But your original stuff, and
and if
then
you guys get like, let's say you guys get Javon Holland on the show, and Javon Holland says like,
make happen.
yeah, actually I'm
Come on.
I'm signing a 5-year extension as soon as I get off this call. It's worth
Right.
XYZ money, this, that, and the third.
Mhm.
And somebody basically crops his square and posts it without really
Without like, yeah.
without the full thing, or just says like, oh, it's the sideline teapot. You guys would be like, yo, what the
What the thanks for crediting us.
No,
yeah,
Yeah.
like
literally.
granted, we're sharing this
Mhm.
information for free, but like we built the relationship, we talked to him, we got him on the show. Like we built our following. Like we worked for this. We didn't just luck into like, oh, Javon bumped into us on the street.
Right.
And like,
Right.
so like it's, I think if it was more applicable to them, like if they had situations where like their work was taken
Listen, I
from them,
totally get it now.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
I had a
not fun.
conversation with my mom about it over the weekend after the UF-UM game, and it was like, when you put yourself out there on social media, you have that chance to have like you're putting it out there, your information. People are going to be inspired, and it's not about you want people to read your work and to feel inspired by what you're putting out there and to use it in
Yeah.
some sort of way. But when
Mhm.
I sat down and watched what I watched, and I was like, man, it was like they
That was
wrote
weird.
they wrote a transcript and then they said like verbatim,
Yeah.
and then I started to get like, but those are my words. That's how I like. That's
I say, that's my
Yeah.
exactly
team.
what I
Like
said. Like,
Mhm.
it's
No.
okay to like, it's
like
okay
make
to
it your
want
own. Do
credit
your
for something that
thing.
you
Right.
did. Like it's
Right.
okay to
Shout
want credit
you
for
out while
something you
you're
worked hard for.
doing it.
The
You know,
thing
like,
that baffles me the most is it's so easy to just retweet. Like,
It's literally you tap a button. Like it takes more effort to long press, save,
take
exit,
the thing out.
new
Yep.
tweet,
Yeah.
go to your photos, tap the photo, type in, like, all that
Yeah.
time you could have just quote tweeted and said
Yeah.
this. So
So
like that's a problem. The Dove climbing, ML football, the worst in the world. I've got all,
Mm.
they're all blocked. Like Dove is uh I mean, I'm not
and
positive
it
he's
gets
even a real
weirder
person,
going. No, it
but
goes.
like
His is like he went in and stole too. He didn't just
Yeah,
like
he went in and
he
stole
like
that account. Like,
yeah
he bought it.
right.
He bought it. Couldn't say he sold it, but it was being
I've
bought.
had
Well,
It was
but there's
illegally.
that there's that theory that he did something and then he went in
He
like years
hacked?
later and yeah, hacked or
What?
yeah, that's
something. Yeah,
something,
was
some like
he was
fantasy
supposed to
podcast
be
or
there?
something like.
Correct. Fantasy podcast. He had I don't I don't know how to do this. I can barely like speak and look at the camera and hear you and talk.
Yeah.
But there's something about something board and he was helping them and then he went in later and then he could take all their information and he could tweet as them. And they
It's
figured it out on this podcast. But and I don't mean
That's
to
insane.
interrupt you or do anything else, but
um,
the original reason I thought it was great that you discussed that, and I don't want to get off of it at all whatsoever. But the original thing was, did you guys say that one of the Miami beat writers talked about tweeting from a basement in Central Florida
Florida.
today?
no, that was a
Joe.
joke about
No,
It
no,
was a joke though,
that
but
was a
from
joke from
no,
the
no, no.
coach of
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Yes,
I was just
yeah,
saying. I was
the
just
LSU
saying, did
coach.
one of the beat right? No, it was
Not the
the
Billy
LSU,
quarterback. It was
Napier.
Billy
yes,
Napier.
coach.
It was Billy
Yeah,
Napier
it was a
making
Billy
fun of.
Napier
Yeah.
reference. It
like
wasn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
meant to call anybody out. No,
Right.
it's not. No, but yeah,
No,
they
but I'm
no,
just saying
those
that's
are
an
bad.
example of like then I was just using that as an example of something Billy Napier said, and then I thought you were joke. I thought you meant seriously. Like one of the beat writers was like, "Well,
Oh no, no, no,
talking
no,
about
no.
it," but that's kind of like then what the whatever they're called, Dov and aggregators do. So you
And it's
take
just
something
like
good and you pretend like you had that funny idea,
what
and
kills
that's
me,
why
and
it
this was like a
sucks.
real experience I had with Dove a year or so ago. He tweeted out a story that I think Albert Breer wrote about players who had been arrested for gun crimes in the NFL
Mhm.
over the past XYZ years. And Dove used, 4 mugshots. One of them was Ed Oliver from the Bills.
Yep.
Well, I covered Ed Oliver when he was arrested for that gun crime, right? He was pulled over for, driving while intoxicated, and he had a gun in the car. And in Texas, like if you're allowed to have a gun in the car unless you're in the act of committing a crime. So like DUI
It was
crime,
illegal. Yeah.
It was a
that's what
crime.
it is. However, and he's taken to jail, spent the night in jail, holes in his clothes and everything. Like I came out that he was never actually tested. He never was, took a sobriety test. He blew a 00 BAC, like, but like they didn't do blood work or anything like that. Like officer read zeros on the breathalyzer and was like,
Breathalyzer.
"Yeah, I think you're on something anyways. I'm going to take you to jail anyway." So eventually they do blood work, completely clean. Record, charges were dropped, and because he wasn't driving while intoxicated, the gun charge was also dropped. So he was totally innocent. This was profiling to a T. This was
Whoa.
and I we talked
Wow.
to him. Ed Oliver was not like when I was there. He might be different now. When I was there, like he wasn't a super open person, but like we talked to him on the Zoom call, and like I could see in his eyes like how much that story hurt, like how much that hurt him
Yeah.
when he said like, dude, like it's wild how this can happen. Like you spend your whole life doing everything right, making every right decision, never getting in trouble, and then like someone can just tell you that you're this, someone just tell you and throw you in jail. Like it was horrible. So like I responded, I was like, why are you using his mugshot when those charges were dropped and they were phony to begin with? And I got
Mhm.
this slew of DMs from this man like refusing to take responsibility for it. He's
Wow.
like,
I would
it's
have
not
posted
my
them all.
story.
I would have posted them all.
It's Albert Breer's story. It's not my story. It's not my reporting. Blame him. Like, no,
It's a
I'm
nice
blaming
reporting
you.
voice.
Like
Because
it's
he's
yeah,
the
I work on
one
it a little bit.
he's the one
But
who's like kind of amplifying it then.
yeah, I was like
Albert
you didn't have to use those screenshots, but like
well
this
You
is
chose
the
to do
problem with
that.
aggregators is like
Mhm.
Mm.
you're gonna
Mhm.
post that and then your excuse is, well, it's not my reporting. If it's wrong, it's not my reporting. I just amplified it without doing any research. So
Yeah.
like
You can
I have a
take
huge
the
issue
credit when
with
it's
those.
good, but You don't want to take the
huge
heat.
issue with those accounts. Yeah, that's why I have them blocked. If they get my stuff anyways, they get it. But like, I try to make it hard for them at the
Like
very
Omar
least.
says, protect your peace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Block a button is a beautiful thing. The mute button is even better.
Mute button's my best friend.
Mhm.
It's like
You
we're
can talk to the
BFFs.
void. I will not see
Me.
it.
All
All
right,
right,
Mary,
well,
close it out.
Marcel, thank you very much for joining us tonight and spilling the tea.
Of course.
Any closing things you want to say? Where can we find you? And all that. Let us know.
On Twitter, X, whatever, Marcel_LJ. I'm doing what I can. Just remember, everybody in that building, everybody in that media room, we are working hard. Nobody
Mm.
is keeping any stories from you guys on purpose. When we know things, we will tell y'all things. Please don't hate the media for doing our job. We don't hate you or your team.
Oh.
And I hope everybody has a lot of fun this season. I hope just everybody is happy at the end of the day.
Fins up,
That's
baby.
it.
We about to kick it off.
Hands up.
Let's
All right,
Can't
bye
wait.
everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.